Hey, welcome back. This is Jessica, and you are here at Career Coaching with Jessness. This episode is going to be fun because I see this popping up online, and I'm always interested when people are posting about these kinds of things in terms of rating things that I've done throughout my career that have helped me get to where I am today. So, if you don't know, I'm a global program manager in learning and development. I'm a corporate career coach and leadership strategist, and I work with people one on one. I'm an author, and I live in the Silicon Valley. So, that's kind of me in a nutshell. And I've done a few things along my career to help me get to where I am. And my career has not been a straight line, the straight line of where you join a company, you start in one role, and then you just up, you work your way up in a single file kind of vertical growth path. Now, growth can look like a zigzag. I call it jungle gymming, and we talked about this in a previous episode. And if you're interested in checking that out, it's the one where I talk about how to make sure you're interviewing with a company that matches the career growth that you want. So we talk about the difference of growth between vertical growth, kind of the traditional forward career ladder, versus the jungle gym where you bop around and you're still moving your way up, but it may be more zigzagged. And I've had a bit of zigzag over my career, and I'll talk a little bit about that today because it did land the list in terms of what I want to rate. But let's just dive into it and have some fun with this. And as you're going through, I'd love for you to kind of reflect on what are the key actions in your career and then rate them on a scale from 1 to 10. 10 being ideal, great, super impactful and valuable and have helped you, and 1 being you probably could have skipped it and been just fine. So the first one I want to go over is I didn't wait for someone to pay me to do a passion project. I just did it. So this is something that's percolating a lot for me right now, and I'm talking a lot about it in that your career does not need to fulfill all of your hopes and dreams. Oh my gosh. I know that's controversial, right? Because so many podcasts and so many people out there are talking about finding your dream job and having to find the one and only perfect job, right? And my take now is more so find a job that pays well, that aligns with your natural skills and interests. But if you've got a dream or a passion, it doesn't necessarily have to be your career. And so I'm rating this 10 out of 10 for me not waiting for someone to pay me for my passion. And what I'm talking about is this podcast. So this podcast, Career Coaching with Jessness, was started back in 2016 in my car when I was driving to work. I had a horrible commute. And if you live in the Bay, I feel your pain. The commuting world is just a nightmare right now. It always has been, but no one lives where they work anymore. And so it's gotten worse. But at the time, I was commuting from Pleasanton to San Jose. And if you know that commute, I feel you. I totally feel you. It's not a long commute, but it's excruciating because everybody's doing it. It's like 30 miles and it can take up to 2 hours. So what I did was, in order to not go crazy, I just put my headphones in and would just record after a full day of tech recruiting, record different things that I thought people saw, had blind spots on, interview tips, how to advocate for yourself, what an end of performance review can really look like and how to make it robust and valuable, how to go for that promotion, how to give feedback, on and on. Topics that I cover, in this podcast. But this was back 2016, and I just started it because I'm like, man, I've got something to say on these things. Started it and didn't wait for someone to tap me on the shoulder to say, hey, you should try this, or you should find a job in podcasting and then do it. So if you're out there and you've got an interest or a passion, you can do it at any time. And I say go for it because from 2016 till now, I had a ton, over 140 episodes. And in 2021, I ended up taking them down. And so I've restarted the podcast under the same name, which is good because the job market looks a lot different than it did in 2016. So reignited this passion, restarted it, but not waiting for someone to tell me to do it or pay me to do it. 10 out of 10 rating. Okay, next thing, 10 out of 10, another rating. I talked openly about my interests and side gigs, and it eventually turned into my actual corporate gig. So the podcast was one of those things. I would talk with my coworkers about what I was doing. Hey, I recorded a podcast on my way home yesterday on the topic of feedback. I am doing one-on-one career coaching with people outside of work. I would talk about all of my interest around career development and professional development, personal development, books I was reading, articles I was finding, and just through talking about my interests and side gigs, I was becoming a thought leader in that topic. I was becoming known for the things that I was talking about. And the things that I was talking about became part of my personal brand. So the coolest thing was I was working at a SaaS company at the time. This was years and years ago. And because I was talking about all of my side interests and just things that were filling up my brain and percolating, when our company got bought by a private equity firm, which I didn't have in the cards, I did not know that was going to happen. You never know what's going to happen, which is my point here. So because I had been talking about it and people were aware of what I was interested in, when we were bought by a private equity company and they had this whole saying around, we like to pay to, or what was it? We like to retain to train to retain. My goodness. And so, in other words, they like to build internal development opportunities for their employees so that people stay. People stay at the company. And so it opened up this whole opportunity. People knew that I was interested in corporate career coaching. People knew that I was doing it on the side and working one-on-one with people. People knew I had topics on my podcast where I would debunk and talk through and strategize and give people step by step on how to grow in their careers. So when I raised my hand for that opportunity, it made sense to people. It was already part of a brand that I was embodying. And so I got to interview for that position and I got it. And so fast forward now, it's been 9 years in this gig where I'm a corporate career coach, leadership strategist. I work with our leaders in my day gig all around the world on how to be better managers, how to be more empathetic. Essentially, it's kind of how to be a better human, because when you're managing people, it's not always, the tactical, the day-to-day, the strategy, all of those things can oftentimes be trained or learned or picked up on. But really the crux of my job is to help people be more relatable, understand what their team's needs are, understand how to talk with someone, motivate them, understand what their interests are, and then align it with the work that they're doing. So it's very much a people to people human role that I help people ignite in. 10 out of 10, talking about your interests, side gigs, even if you don't get paid for it, even if you have no idea what's around the corner, do it, because there could be a situation like what I went through and boom, the door is open and there you off you go on a new career path. That's a great fit. Okay, next thing. This is fun. Next thing I'm rating is I invested in some side development, side meaning outside of my day job, and asked my work to reimburse me for part of it. So this was a total long shot. I wasn't sure if it was going to go through. I didn't know if it was going to get approved. But what I did was I really wanted to get some more training around public speaking. And this was back in 2019 when I was a couple years into learning and development. I was doing facilitation. I was doing a lot of public speaking, and I wanted to refine it. I also wanted to go for personal reasons because at the time, my first book was published. Your 20s is what it's called. And I was applying for a lot of public speaking opportunities. So, it was a win-win. Not only was I be able to use some of the learnings and strategies that they would give me in my day job, in my facilitation, learning and development work, but I'd also get to utilize that in my work with promoting my book and putting myself out there and having a presence online and yada yada. So I just total long shot found this company, amazing company, Heroic Public Speaking out of New Jersey. One of the coolest training opportunities I've ever been to. Found it and then wrote up wrote up a kind of proposal to my manager and said, here's where I'm going. I'm funding this out of my own pocket, but here are the objectives of the training, and here's what I plan to apply from these objectives to my day job. Is there any possibility where I could get some reimbursement for this development that I'm investing in myself? And I got some of it reimbursed. So my boss reimbursed me for part of it, and it was a total just icing on the cake. It was something I was already going to do. So why not ask for it? I had a boss when I worked for the recruiting agency that would say, you don't get what you don't ask for all the time. And so at first, early in my career, I was really nervous and timid to ask for something or to advocate for something that I would consider as extra or above and beyond. So practicing that over time allowed me to then say, okay, here's the proposal. If they say no, they say no. At least I tried. And I was able to get half of it reimbursed, which was wonderful because a flight to New Jersey ain't cheap. But Heroic Public Speaking, highly recommend it if you haven't heard of it. Part of the value for me in going to some of those things, this was a win-win because their content was so rich and helpful. Sometimes the content, not at Public Speaking, but sometimes the content in other places that I've gone to for trainings, it's okay. But the real benefit for me is meeting the people there and getting to network with other people that are like in my sphere and wanting to put themselves out there and build public speaking careers. And so that synergy and being able to learn from people in that same bubble is beyond very, very, very helpful. All right. Next thing I'm reading. Now, this is a 3 out of 10. So this is something that over time I've tried to get really good at, and I'm still practicing. But 3 out of 10, putting authority on pedestals and taking their word for everything versus treating someone in a place of authority as an equal and being comfortable sharing my ideas and suggestions. So I'm still learning this today, but I've gotten better the older that I've gotten and also the more confident I've gotten just in the workplace. And I truly believe this builds over time. When you're first in the career world, you're still learning what the corporate jargon is. You're still learning how things are done, understanding the interpersonal nature of the company. And so there's going to take some time to learn how to navigate this world because it's different than anything else. It's not like school. It's not like clubs. It's not like sports. It's corporate. So getting to know the ins and outs of that is one thing. This episode is proudly brought to you by my second book, Thank You for Dumping Me, part memoir, part novel, part self-discovery journal. You can find it on my website, justnessrequired.com, or Amazon in print, Audible, or Kindle. But what I was doing a lot was I would put people on pedestals and just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed would just listen to everything they have to say without even triggering anything in my brain to say, what do I have to add here? What questions do I have? What might I be able to contribute to this conversation? Versus I would just shut my mouth and just listen and take orders and run with it. And then would see people in this like perfect light, right? Like, oh, if you're a VP, there is nothing that you don't know, right? And so I rate this 3 out of 10, not great. The more that we can practice, we all are here for a reason. If I've got a seat at the table or if I'm in this meeting, somebody somewhere sees me contributing value. So I'm going to go for it. If there's something I have to add, I'm going to say it. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to showcase my ideas because two ideas are better than one. Even if that person is a CEO and I just started in my career, those two people coming together are going to create something different and new versus if one person is just a passive bystander. So speak up. Don't be putting people on pedestals like I did, because that'll only prolong the time it takes for you to build that personal brand and that relationship, because you're somebody to get to know. So let them get to know you. All right. Next one I'm rating is a 1 out of 10, and this is only asking for feedback at quarterly reviews. I would say 3 years ago. Well, I would say about 2 years ago, I was kind of waiting. I would wait for the quarterly review to get feedback. I would wait for the end of year formal review process to get a synopsis or part of my evaluation. I would just kind of, and I didn't see it as waiting, like I'm just going to sit back and do nothing. I saw it more as, well, this is how the business flows. This is what happens here. Every quarter we check in, we get feedback, and then we move on. And then at the end of the year, we get more feedback, and then we start the new year. But when it shifted for me and I started to ask feedback after meetings, smaller increments, after meetings, after projects, doing post-mortems, asking for my manager to inquire with another manager that was leading a project that I was on. When I started to do more of that and ask for more consistent feedback, my growth just skyrocketed, because not only did I have more information about how I was showing up, but I was also able to course correct when needed in the moment. Why wait 3 months to get the feedback if I can switch something now? So asking for the feedback on an ongoing basis not only helps me grow, but it also shows initiative to my boss, and it shows that I'm interested in getting better. I'm interested in learning. It puts me in the driver's seat of my career. So highly recommend asking for feedback always, not asking and waiting for the formal process. 1 out of 10. Okay, next things next. This is making this may sound a bit woo-woo for some of you, but I swear this works. Okay, we all know mindset matters. Okay, if you wake up and you've got a mindset that you're just like F the world, guess how your day's gonna go? Not great. If you wake up, F the world, and you do something to course correct, you can have a visceral change in your day and see how that day can alter. So our mind is so powerful. So I have a very easy, low-hanging fruit, you can check this off your list today, that will help boost mindset and support a growth mindset, positive mindset, and that is making your work login passwords affirmations. I do this, so every time, think of how many times you're having to put in your password on your computer. 20, 30 times a day. I don't know about you, but my computer locks after 5 minutes. So we're constantly putting in our work login password. Make it an affirmation. And I'm not saying make it sentences long, but make it a short and sweet, I am blank, or whatever it might be that you're working on. Maybe you're lacking confidence, and so it's I am confident, and then some, of course, numbers and symbols. Or maybe you're trying to speak up more. You can write stay active or something like that. This supports our mindset and gives us a boost every time we log in. And a little reminder. I love doing little reminders and little breadcrumbs throughout the day to make what we're trying to do easier. So there's physical triggers that we can do. Like I do that for writing. There are scent triggers that we can do that sends our brain into a state of, oh, okay, we're getting into focus mode. Or there's music. There's lots of ways to do that kind of triggering. And we can talk about that on another episode. But a real quick, easy way is change that login password, make it an affirmation. And I rate this a 7 out of 10, guys, because it's not a 10 out of 10 because I'm annoyed with having to put it in so often. But at least if I'm putting it in, it's something that is going to support me and remind me of who I am and what I'm working on. Okay, I've got two more things. So one of the things that, or actually, no, I have one more thing. Okay, this one I'm rating a 5 out of 10. So kind of middle of the road. And this is because as I was reflecting on this, I realized that the deeper meaning and root that I was doing around, so the thing is exploring other departments and wanting to switch to another department versus looking and having a cold hard look into what was currently happening in my current role. So this is like a year and a half now, last spring, I was in a place of boredom with my job. I was not feeling it. Our team dynamics were off. I was just, I don't know, at a standstill. I didn't feel like I was growing. I wanted to make that happen. And so instead of looking and taking a step back from my role and looking to get to the root of what might be going on here, what can I change? What challenges am I facing? What conversations do I need to have with my manager or my coworkers to fix or try to influence what's happening? Versus, I didn't do any of that. I just wanted to switch. So I raised my hand. I was starting to look for other jobs within my company. I was networking a bunch and just wanted to jump to another department. And I put this at a 5 out of 10 because I do think it's helpful to explore and network this way. And this speaks to the jungle gym zigzag growth in that there may be an opportunity in another department that is still a good fit for you and helps you with career growth. Like, for instance, if, say, you want to be a manager and your current department is pretty flat, meaning there's not a lot of vertical opportunity to grow. You may decide, I'm going to go over to this department that does have more vertical opportunity because chances are they're going to need a manager quicker than just for me, when your organization is flatter, you have to wait until the person ahead leaves, and then sometimes there's only upward mobility of 2 slots, and it's like your manager, VP, chief, right? That's what my situation is now. So unless my manager hits the lotto and bounces, probably not an opportunity in the next few years to move into a management role. So I may consider looking outside if that is something I want to do. So I do think it's helpful to explore and not get too siloed in your work either, to understand what's happening in other departments, because that's going to give you greater understanding of enterprise level what's going on. Knowledge is power in corporate, so understanding how and what other teams are working on can be really helpful. But in this sense, when I got down to the root of it, it wasn't that being in another team and working in another function, because it would be a completely different function that I was exploring. It wasn't that that was greater than what I love about my day job. It was that I was trying to just jump ship and I was trying to just get a quick fix, when I'm so glad that at the end of it, once I started learning more and really understanding what that switch would mean, I decided I'm going to stay where I'm at. And it gave me a renewed sense in my current role. And it really did strengthen my relationship with my boss, because I had to tell him, hey, I'm exploring these other things. And I had to get his endorsement for that. So we had some tough conversations around that. And through that whole situation, it strengthened my trust and my relationship with my boss, because those conversations are hard. And so not only did it do that, but it renewed my sense of learning and development is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I love. And I had, through that renewed sense of interest, I was able to say, what's here? What can I fix? How can I elevate my current team so that I'm not bored anymore and we do have more of a synergy and we're working on projects that we like. So, all in all, 5 out of 10, middle of the road for that. All right, that is it for my ratings today. This was very fun, so I'm probably going to do this again. But how would you rate the actions that you've taken throughout your career? 1 to 10. Think through those major movements and decisions, and maybe you've got one on your plate right now. Rate it out. What's that? What's the scale? 10 being the most impactful, most valuable, 1 being maybe not so impactful, because we are at a time in life where there are so many competing priorities. And the more that we can kind of identify what's going to be the biggest return of our investment versus not so much and prioritize the ones that are, the more we're going to be working on stuff that actually matters and less burnt out because we've got that prioritization. So that is it for today. Let me know what comes up for you. I'd love to know what you're rating 10 out of 10 in your career. You can message me on Instagram, and I'll see you on a future episode.